both of them. All right, so yesterday I was playing with alcohol inks, and I've kind of experimented with them before, but it's been a while, and so I thought that I would um, play with them again and just kind of experiment. So um, this is one of the ones that I did yesterday. This was the very first one that I did, which I love those colors. I love turquoise and red together. And then this was the third one. And then this was the last one that I did. Okay, so today's experiment is going to be, all right, we sprayed alcohol on a tile, and we dropped some ink on there, and we took a heat gun and we moved it around and made some really pretty designs. But then what do you do? So they've been drying, not exactly 24 hours, but they've been drying overnight. And I noticed when I picked one of them up today that it was wet still. So I went ahead and I wiped the edges so that no more ink comes off of my hands. And I did that to both of these. And I did accidentally touch one of them and noticed that it smeared. So at first I panicked and I thought, oh no, you can tell that it's a clear smear. So what I did is, because it was still wet, is I got my cheap paintbrush and I just gently swirled it. I just gently went like that and just gave it more of a flow design than I smeared it. So anyways, so what I'm going to do today is tell you what I did this morning, other than I wiped the dry ink off. What I did this morning, and I'm going to invite some people really quick to come on with me and see if I can get some friends in here with me. I have a handful of friends that like to watch what I'm doing, so I invite them. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so anyways, hi Kaylee. So after I wiped the ink off of the edges and fixed my smear, I thought, okay, well, if I put epoxy on this right now, it might bleed. It might do the same thing. So what I did is I took some Rust-Oleum glitter clear sealer and I just sprayed one of them. So I sprayed this one. And if you look up close, you can see where it was sprayed. I don't know if you'll be able to tell on the camera, but you can see where it was sprayed. I'm not too worried about that though, because I'm excited to see if the epoxy is going to fix any of that. And then on this one, I did not spray it. It's not sealed at all. It's just been sitting overnight drying. And so I want to see if it makes a difference if sealing it doesn't cause the ink to bleed, and if not sealing it, if you'll still get some bleeding once you put the epoxy on there. So I do have to mix up some epoxy, and I'm just going to make a little bit because if I find out that I need to seal the other ones, I'm going to have to take time to do that. I did fix one of them. This is the one that I fixed. It had, hey Tabitha, it had I had used this stuff right here. And Tabitha, do you use this stuff? And if you do, what do you use it for? Do you tint your epoxy with it, or because I have a whole jar of it, and what I was using it for, it didn't wow me, but I'm sure it's a great product. It's just that I was probably using it the wrong way or for the wrong thing or whatever. So anyways, this one had a glop of that white acrylic ink right here, and it wasn't moving with heat. It wasn't doing anything but looking ugly. And so after the video, I had wiped it off with a wipey, and then I redid the tile with inks, and it came out pretty cool. I can't wait to get glitter on here and the epoxy and see what happens. So I've got my epoxy here. I'm using Stone Coat Countertop, the Art Coat, and look, I'm running out. I need to order some more. So that ink, I'll tell you what, it does not dry, because there's some ink that was on here from last night and I just smeared it and now it's everywhere. But anyways, I do need to grab some glitter really quick. So I'm at work. I can only peek with it on silent. Oh, okay. I won't tell anyone, Tabitha. All right, let me grab some glitter really quick. All right, so I'm grabbing some white glitter from Hobby Lobby and Recollections glitter, that color. And then this is also Recollections, and it's a ultra fine bling glitter. And so I'm going to go ahead and mix up some epoxy really quick, and then we're going to apply it to both of them and just see, do you have to seal it? Is the ink going to smear, or does it not matter? So, Kaylee, what are you doing today? We know Tabitha's at work. I need to get a line on my cup for this epoxy. That's probably too much. I don't want that much. I need the right height, because what I do is I draw a line on my cup. So I find something that I can put my pen on to give me the right height to draw that line on my cup. That's a lot better. This is not going to need a lot of epoxy. So once I have the right height, then I put my marker down and I twist my cup around, and that gives me a good line. Ooh, that stuff stinks. What are you doing, Kaylee? If you answered, I'm sorry, the comments are delayed. Okay, so this is part B, and I'm going to pour it in up to that line that I just drew on the cup. I love working with this epoxy. It's a really good one. I really like it a lot. I don't really have any complaints about it. All right, and then my next cup is going to be the part A, and that's the thicker one of the two. And when they say thick, they really mean it too. I can't see what you're working on. Uh-oh. Thanks for telling me. Okay, sorry. I meant to angle the camera down. You just won't be able to see my face. Sorry about that. Thank you, Kaylee, for telling me. I'm watching the YouTube one right in front of me, and that one has a good view, but my Facebook one didn't. I'm so sorry. Okay, this is the thicker one, and I'm going to mix the two of them together in a minute. comes out so slow, and I don't want to pour it out too fast because I want to make sure I get the right amount. That looks about right. Okay. Is that a better view, Kaylee? If you're on YouTube, Kaylee, you can watch the whole view. On Facebook, though, it's just going to be my hands. So, okay, so now I'm going to pour the thinner one into the thicker one just because it's easier to get out. It's a lot easier to scrape this one into the thicker one than the thick one into the thinner one. And if you've never worked with epoxy before, you would know what I'm talking about. It's just that thick one is just so hard to get off the sides of the cups. Okay, so now I'm going to stir it for 3 minutes. Can you see now, Kaylee? And at first it looks cloudy like that. If you stir it slow, you won't have as many bubbles. If you stir it fast, you're going to get bubbles. It's not a huge concern. It's more annoying than anything because I use my heat gun to pop the bubbles. The hot air pops the bubbles. So, not a real huge concern. All right, it's 12:54. Oh, I'm getting some thumbs up. Thank you, Kaylee. And some hearts. Yay! What are you doing today? I'm just on here for a quick live. I'm supposed to be working. Alan's not happy that he's working and I'm playing. But anyways, I'm just in here for a quick live. Look at all those hearts and thumbs up. Aw, someone loves me. It's my daughter. That helps, Kaylee. Okay, so if you're watching me, just comment below where you're watching from. Kaylee, tell everybody where you're watching from. And my phone is ringing. It's my mom. Kaylee, can you text Gammy and tell her that I'm doing a live video? Hope it's not an emergency. All right, so I've got 2 more minutes. And if you're just joining, this is like a part 2 from yesterday. If you got to watch my video from yesterday, I did these alcohol inks on 4x4 tiles. And I'm just kind of experimenting today to see, okay, we played with the ink, they're on the tiles, now what? So when I touched the tiles just a few minutes ago before I went live, there was still ink that came off on my hands. See the ink there? And so I thought, well, if I put epoxy on those right now, the ink might bleed and make it worse and ruin the tile. So what I did is first I wiped off all the extra ink on the sides. I didn't touch the surface other than my finger smeared one of them accidentally. But I was able to fix that with a very inexpensive brush. I just kind of swirled it around and gave it a little design, and you would never know. I can't even tell where the place was that I fixed it. So what I did is I took some Rust-Oleum glitter clear sealer and I sprayed one of the tiles. So this one is sprayed with it, this one is not. So we're going to see if the inks bleed if you don't seal them. Like the camera cuts it off. Oh, okay. I didn't see all these comments, Kaylee. I'm sorry. Can you see my comments? I can see them now. Yeah, okay. sorry about that. See, this is why you need to live here, Kaylee, so you can help me. All right. One more minute, and then I'm done stirring. I think I've got it combined really good. It's a little bit more clear now. So it's still looks white, but it's turning a little bit more clear. So it's not as bad as it was. Oh, thank you for texting, Gammy. Hopefully everything's okay. All right, so when you're working with epoxy and it says to mix and stir for 3 minutes, you really do want to do that. I found out the hard way what happens when epoxy doesn't cure, and a lot of times it doesn't even have anything to do with your stirring. It can have everything to do with the temperature in the room that you're working. So just make sure you read the labels when you do buy epoxy resin. Just make sure you read the labels and the instructions and follow those instructions. If they have safety precautions, follow those safety precautions. All right, I think I got a good stir and a splinter. I think I just got a splinter. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it on the tile that I sprayed with the sealer. I think both Facebook and YouTube can see. I know, hopefully soon. Yeah, I know, right? All right, Kaylee, so here we go. Let's see what happens. And I usually just pour about a quarter size to a $1/2 size coin of epoxy and let it kind of move around and take some heat to in a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and pour some on here too and just see as the epoxy hits it, is it going to smear the ink? Can I move the epoxy around and it be okay? I don't know. So let me get my heat gun after I wipe my hands here. So I'm taking some heat to it. And I'm going to go ahead and try to move it around with a popsicle stick on the one that was sprayed and see if it's safe. Because this is usually how I would do it. I would use a popsicle stick to move the epoxy around. Push it out from the center. So remember, this is the one that I sprayed with the Rust-Oleum glitter sealer. And the reason I did that is because I accidentally touched it this morning when checking on them and got some ink on my fingers. And I thought, oh no, I wonder if that's going to come off when I try to epoxy them. So I sprayed one with the sealer to seal the inks in, and I did not spray the other. So just kind of smooth it around. I'm able to move it and it's not smearing at all. And this is the one that I sprayed. I'm moving it around, trying to get full coverage. This is a self-leveling epoxy. Always make sure your table is level when you're doing this. Okay, I'm going to take some heat to it and try to pop some bubbles and see what happens. I'm going to add glitter to it too. Okay, and it looks like it needs some more in some areas. So I'm going to add some more. I'm going to leave just a little bit for this tile. Anytime you add extra epoxy to any piece, you always want to make sure you take heat to it when you introduce new epoxy to a piece. If you're just adding more like I just did, because it's going to have bubbles, and you don't really want to see bubbles on there when it dries. Alright, I see a couple of divots, so I'm going to dip my popsicle stick in the epoxy and just drop some where the divots are. Maybe I just didn't smooth it out good enough. There might have been some oil from my fingers on the surface and it's rejecting the epoxy because of the oils. Could be a number of things. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to take it to the edges. Just smooth my popsicle stick on the edges. Not a thick layer at all. I'm just spreading it on the edges so that way the edges will be smooth and glossy. Okay, so we did really good. It didn't smear at all. So now, well, I'll wait to put the glitter on just because I don't want to have to take my gloves off and put a brand new set on. Okay, so this is the one I did not spray with sealer. Hold on, I see some rejection here on the sides. Okay, this one I'm going to go ahead and start spreading out and see if the ink runs or smears at all. This is how I would normally do it. The only thing that I did different, I forgot to tell you this step, is once I realized that the alcohol ink was smearing, that it wasn't dry, I did take a heat gun to it. So that's the only other thing that I've done to both of these is I did take a heat gun to both of them just to see if I could dry it up on the surface. Sorry, I'm trying to listen to my husband's phone call. Some friends of ours just called. So anyways, okay, this is smearing, and I don't know if you can see it on the popsicle stick, but it is picking up the ink. It's smearing it. No bueno. I mean, it's giving it an additional special effect, but it is smearing. And that was even taking the heat gun to it. Now I've got pink ink on the end of my popsicle stick. So now I'm just filling in divots right now where it's kind of rejecting. This one might have had silicone on it. I don't remember. I know one of them, I put silicone on one of them, and I can't remember which one it is. Okay, so I'm going to take heat to this. I mean, it's smeared, but it's not a bad thing. You can't really tell. Um, this one has glitter ink in it, which would have been this one right here, the Brie Reese. It's got, well, it's all settled in the bottom. You can see how it's settled. But I like it because it gives it a very shimmery look. It's really cool looking. These are absolutely gorgeous in person, y'all. I'm liking this. Okay, so going forward, when I make these again, I will go ahead and spray them with that sealer. And again, it's Rust-Oleum Glitter Sealer. I'm sure there's other products that you can spray on there. You might even be able to use like a stencil adhesive. I'm not really sure. But going forward, I will spray them to seal that alcohol ink in so it doesn't smear. Because this one smeared and was not sprayed, and this one did not smear and it was sprayed. It doesn't take but maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds to dry when you spray it with that Rust-Oleum spray. It doesn't take long at all. I'm just filling in divots right now. I was able to apply my finger to it after spraying it, and it didn't affect it. I mean, it didn't, it was dry. I don't know what I was trying to say. So now I'm just doing the sides of this one, and I just kind of dip both sides of my popsicle stick in the epoxy, and then now it's smearing on the sides. I'm picking up some ink in this epoxy. Yeah, my epoxy like turning a very pale pink. Okay, they look so pretty, y'all. I just can't even describe it to you, especially this one right here because it has more of the glitter ink. It looks really, really pretty. I'll be posting pictures of this on my Facebook group, which is Southern Makes VIP group, all things crafty. Southern Makes VIP group, all things crafty. And can't exactly post still shots on YouTube. So if you want to see what the still shots look like up close, I'll have those posted on my Facebook group if you're watching on YouTube. So, okay, I'm convinced then, after using the alcohol inks, my process will be to take a heat gun to it the next day and then spray it with this Rust-Oleum glitter sealer. Because we found out today that when you don't do that, when you don't seal it in, it smears. And it doesn't look bad. You can just tell right here in this corner especially that it just started kind of smearing, but it looks like it's part of the design. This one's actually prettier because it has more of the glitter from Brie Reese, the glitter ink in it. So, okay, my next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to add some glitter to them. Yeah, see how much the ink comes off? And I don't know if I want to do silver or do this turquoise. I think I'm going to try some of this turquoise. So I use the palm of my hand and I pinch it like salt, like you're going to put salt on some food, but I make sure my hand is nice and dry. because your hands can tend to get a little bit clammy inside those gloves, so just, you know, dry them. Same thing with your fingers. Make sure they're dry. And I just pinch and sprinkle. And I'm not going to add a lot because this one already has glitter in the ink. So I'm not doing a lot. You don't want to, when you pinch it and you move your little fingers back and forth, you want to try to let go as little as possible at a time, because if not, it's going to land in a clump. Ugh, these are so gorgeous. Okay. I usually put my leftover glitter in a cup because I'm going to be making a glitter tumbler with all the leftover glitter all together as soon as I get enough saved. But for now, it went in the garbage. It wasn't very much. Okay, so I'm going to take the heat to it one last time. Pop any more bubbles. They look amazing, y'all. Sorry, my throat got dry. They look really amazing. You could leave them like this, or if you wanted to take your Cricut machine or your vinyl cutting machine, whichever one you have. Here I am. Take your Cricut machine and you could cut out a word like, let's just say blessed, or you can cut out somebody's name in vinyl. I could cut out my name, Patty, apply the vinyl to the tile, and then it's up to you if you wanted to epoxy over that and protect that vinyl, or you can just leave it as it is. I use the permanent vinyl, which is the stuff that they make signs, like for your magnetic signs for your car door. For this particular project, that's what I would use, so that way it would be permanent. However, if you're just going to use it as a decoration on a desk somewhere, you wouldn't necessarily have to put the epoxy over that vinyl to protect it. But if you're going to use it as a coaster for, let's just say, hot drinks, then you definitely want to go ahead and put another coat of epoxy over that. So let's go over the products that I used. I pick up my tiles from Home Depot. No, it's a Home Depot or Lowe's. It might be Lowe's. I'm sorry. Both of them have them, but one of them is cheaper than the other. And the brand is Dow Tile, and it comes in a box. And I pay less than, I think, $15 for the box. They're just plain white tiles. And then I used a variety of inks. So Brie Reese, which you can find at Michael's and Hobby Lobby. I'm not sure about Joann Fabrics because I don't have one close to me, so I don't get to that store very often. But I use Brie Reese alcohol inks. And then I also use Tim Holtz alcohol inks. And when I find products on clearance at Hobby Lobby like this one, I gobble them up. I know I'm going to use them, and why do I want to pay full price when I can pay a discounted price? And then I also had experimented with the Bombay India inks, and this one didn't do bad. It was okay. The only one that did not work for me was the Dowler Rowney FW Acrylic Artist ink. I'm sure it's a great product, but what I was trying to use it for, sorry, I've got two cameras going. What I was trying to use it for, this project here, it did not work. But I would love to try to use this just in epoxy and see how that goes. But with alcohol on the tile it didn't work. I don't know if it was because my dropper was clumped up. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons why it wasn't working. And the dropper did get clumped up. I just don't know if that was the reason. So this is my other one that I still need to put epoxy on. It looks very dull, but I'll tell you what, once you get the epoxy on these, it turns them into these gorgeous pieces. And the ink is still coming off. You can tell on my fingers. Let me see if this one still has some. Yeah, this is coming off, but just a little bit, not where it's staining my hands. I like this one because it's got turquoise and red, and those are two of my favorite colors to mix in together. Hi, Norma. Oh, you don't like the ink, Norma? Oh, you should see these. They look so beautiful in person. I mean, they're really, really gorgeous. I know on camera that looks just like somebody dropped a bunch of ink on something, and but in person, Norma, they look really, really pretty. Trust me on that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, Norma. It was a lot of fun to do. So I just saw your comments. I'm so sorry that my computer on Facebook, on where the comments are, it doesn't automatically feed the comment line. So I have to actually remember to click the arrow down so I can see the comments. Let me see what other, was a handy little thing too. When I was working on these, is I got a little, this was from my essential oils. I use doTERRA essential oils and I absolutely love them and can't even imagine not using them because they've just helped me so much. But this was one of my droppers from my essential oils, and I just put alcohol in there, and I was able to just, find a spot and drop a drop, compared to I keep alcohol ink in my spray bottle as well. And you can spray it on the tile. It makes it really easy to just kind of spray it on the tile when you first start. But if you're just wanting to put alcohol in one little area, I recommend putting it in a little dropper bottle or something like this. And then the other product I used was the Rust-Oleum. What is it called? Hi, Janice. Are you watching? Rust-Oleum Glitter Clear Sealer. And that sealed the inks for me. And then I also used the Stone Coat Countertop Art Coat Epoxy. Love that stuff for artwork. If I'm using it for glitter tumblers, I like to use art resin. Those are the two brands that I mostly stick with. In the beginning, though, I did experiment with Amazing Clear Cast. And that was the epoxy that I bought just to kind of play with and learn how to use epoxy. I didn't want to spend a lot of money if I was going to have a lot of botched up pieces. So I did start out with Amazing Clear Cast. And then the glitters that I was using was Recollections. And the actual color is Paradise. Love this color. I did have some other two set aside. Same brand. This one's from Hobby Lobby. But I ended up not using them for this project. Of course, you need popsicle sticks. And then little snack cups that you can get at Walmart. They come with the lids. I don't use the lids though. Every once in a while I find myself needing one, but for the most part I just throw them away. I don't use them. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? Hey Janice. I've been watching on YouTube, just switched over to Facebook. Yeah, it's weird because on YouTube I don't see any of the comments because I'm using my cell phone. If it was on a laptop, I would have probably seen your comments. But anyways, Janice, have you worked with alcohol inks before? Like in any of your card making projects that you've done, have you ever experimented with the alcohol inks? All right, so the only other product I can think of that I used was the 3-in-1 silicone that I picked up at Walmart in the man section. I call it the man section. You know, where all the manly stuff is. I used that on, I think I used it on my very first one. This one right here. I think this is the one that I used, the alcohol inks. But I wish y'all could see these in person. I know Norma says that she's not crazy about the alcohol inks, but I wish y'all could see these in person. They're just so pretty. And I'm not done with them. This is just like step 2. Step 1 was actually making them. Oh, I see a spot. And then step 2 is what we're doing today. And step 3 will be if I decide to put a vinyl name or a vinyl word on these. So it's separating just a little bit on the edges. So I'm just adding some more on the edges. Just a little bit. I can see it with the glare. And because I'm introducing more epoxy on here, I'm going to have to, of course, take heat to it. So this one over here is doing really good. So let me take some heat to that really quick. Pop those bubbles. All right, so does anybody have any questions? Janice says, yes, she has worked with alcohol inks before, mainly for blending. Okay. What kind of projects, Janice? On your cards? On the one that was sprayed? Okay, what about the one that was sprayed? That's this one right here. Do you have a question regarding that? Let's see what Janice says. Yes. Okay, Janice, what's your question? We'll wait for her to get that question in there. In the meantime, after I decide if I want to put vinyl on them, then of course I'll put some little felt stoppers on the back. So that way if someone does purchase them and use them on their countertop or their furniture to display, it's not going to scratch the surface of their furniture. So I make sure to do that as well. Janice's question is, you needed more epoxy on the one that was sprayed. Oh, yes, Janice, that is a good point. There could be something in that spray that's causing it to reject the epoxy. That's a really good point. I had not even thought about that. Here's another little spot right here, because you're right. I haven't had to add extra to the one that I did not spray at all. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take this extra epoxy. I'm going to heat it up. And add it. When you heat it up, it makes it more fluid again. It warms it up and it becomes more fluid. It was a little bit thick just a second ago. And it's really just along the edges. Yeah, that's a really good point, Janice. Thanks for that. For separating, yeah. I agree. Yeah, it could be the spray. It could very well be the spray, because that's the difference between the two of them, is that one is sprayed and one is not. I'm just going to go ahead and add it all along the edge here. And it's self-leveling, which is really nice. It will level itself out. Of course, I'm going to take some heat to it again because I just introduced new epoxy. And I'm just going to add the rest of it to this one over here. All right, oops, I forgot. People on Facebook, you can't see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. Okay. I was just adding the leftover epoxy to these, because this one that I sprayed with the sealer, it seems to be rejecting just a little bit, nothing major, but it's rejecting it a little bit on the edges. Um, so that's a very, very good point that Janice brought up. It could be the sealer that's doing that. All right, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and end my video. Thank you for joining me. And if you're watching this on the playback, you can watch the video from yesterday. I figured out what the problem was. I think one of my little, what's the thing called on the computer where you plug your cord into on the side, like your camera or a zip drive or whatever. I think I have two of them on the side of my computer, and one of them I think is going bad because when I took the plug out of one of them and switched it into the other, and Kaylee, if I remember correctly, I think Adam told me that at Christmas time that he noticed that one of my drivers, if that's what it's called, was not working or seemed to not be working. So it's true because my video from yesterday, if you watched my video from yesterday, excuse me, it was very pixelated, is what first said, and it was breaking up really bad, like jumbled and just really crazy. And so I switched the driver. I pulled it out and put it into the other one, and it's working fine, that I can tell, anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead. USB port. See, I don't know these things. What did I call it? A driver? Oh gosh. People watching this video on YouTube is probably going, oh my word, she don't know what she's talking about. Okay, when it comes to technology, you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. When it comes to crafting, I know a lot. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end the video, y'all. Janice, thank you for helping me out with that. A USB port. One of my USB ports is not working, and I don't know if they can fix that at Best Buy or not. But anyways, I'm going to end the video. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. I like to go live and just vlog my journey of all the many things that I make. And lately, the last couple of days, it's been alcohol inks, just kind of playing with them. Hit the subscribe button, click on that little bell so that you'll get notifications when I do go live. It helps my channel to grow. I enjoy doing what I do, and I like vlogging it so that I can share what I have learned from all the great ones, so that I can share. And a lot of times, I'm starting my vlogging at the beginning of my journey, which is nice because I've only been working with acrylic paints for a little over a year now. And so if you're just starting out, this is a good channel to pay attention to because I'm going to be learning with you. You can learn from my mistakes and we can learn together. So if you're watching me on Facebook, go on over to YouTube and click on subscribe, hit the bell. And since you're watching me on Facebook, thank you so much for being a part of my Facebook group. These will eventually go up for sale after I get them done. I am going to put a word on both of them, and a matter of fact, I'm going to finish the other two and do the same thing with them. So they'll eventually make it to the retail market on my Facebook group, and maybe even Etsy, I'm not really sure. But anyways, just wanted to pop on really quick and share the part 2 of the alcohol inks from yesterday. I apologize for the video being jargled and jumbled and my USB port not working. But this is part 2, and I'll post some pictures on Facebook so that y'all can see close up and personal what they look like. So thanks for watching. I'm going to go ahead and end the video. Janice, thanks for joining. Kaylee and Norma, thank you for joining me. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and if you're watching on Facebook, I'll see you next time on Southern Mix Live. And if you're watching me on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time on Southern Mix Live, All Things Crafty. Thank you. Bye.